Hey folks, how you doing? Papa Joe here. Fixing to do some breakfast. Got me a couple sandwiches. I'll be back with you. Alright, I'm back with you. Good breakfast. Had better. Put this up, reading about an interview with Paul McCartney. Back in... Damn, there's the phone. Hold on. Alright folks, I'm back with you. I was talking to my son and I was reading some of Tommy's comments. Tommy, thanks for the flowers. Glad you enjoy it. Glad you enjoy the videos. When you get to watch them, I know about being busy as a dog. I ain't made too many videos myself. I was reading your last comment, and I'm sure I'll mispronounce it, but where you're saying you're a Syrian? I was asking my boy, what is an Assyrian? I'll admit it, I didn't know, so he looked it up. Was reading to me about it. You're from an old country. Sound like you're from an old country that got hit hard several times and now has been torn apart by Turkey and a bunch of others. So, and I assume you're over here in the States. Please let me know if you are or not. That's one of my fears about here in the States. So we're going to be getting torn apart. I probably wind up going on a little bit of political rant this morning. I haven't been in the right frame of mind to make videos. I've tried to make 2 or 3 this week, and the majority of them got deleted. Y'all seen I did 1 or 2. It's so aggravating to me. But now I realized this morning driving down the road, trying to get here to my receiver, and I was thinking about some stuff I'd seen on the internet last night. And The View had called had Dr. Phil on. And they got talking to him about the president's evaluation and all that stuff. Now I got a few things to say about that. A couple things. Number one is, if the Democrats think that Trump is crazy, I don't care what title you put on it, but it basically, that to laymen, to regular working people, they're trying to say he's crazy. So they want him evaluated. They couldn't force him to, but he volunteered. And damn, they couldn't find nothing wrong with him. Ain't that amazing? So on The View, they've got some fancy term they're trying to get Dr. Phil to use and say he's got. Dr. Phil wouldn't do it. Now, mind you, I'm not a big fan of Dr. Phil. When he first came out, before he had his own show, I'd watched him. He was on Oprah. Oprah did this with a lot of people. She'd bring them on her show and get them popular, and then she would start their own show, and then she started her own channel. So don't think, and they're all on her channel now, imagine that. Don't think Oprah was bringing all these people on for you and I. Oprah had a plan. I'm not the biggest fan of Dr. Phil because he is so full of himself. Now, what I do like about him is that he's a common sense feller. I like that. That's what I like in Trump, is he's got a lot of common sense. But as I was thinking about this morning, how I agree with a lot of what they say and do, as individuals, I ain't that crazy about them. Common sense, point blank, no sugar added. I said, damn. That just pretty near sounds like Papa Joe. So, are we so much alike? You know, in our tendencies there? No, I ain't rich like neither one of them. But, Dr. Phil read the description of what this was. And then he added, you know, I think anybody in the president's office could have issues. Well, I got news for you. We all have issues. I do. You do. Some are in denial, some ain't. I'm not. What my issues are, hell, I don't know. My worst issue is I'm me. But I don't care what they want to diagnose. I'm not a harm to me or anybody else. And neither is President Trump. Although Joy, who's not that good of a comedian and is even a worse host, she thinks that he's a danger to all of America. No, you're just a dumbass liberal. Dumbass Democrat. I think since the president went ahead and got his evaluation, I can think of a whole bunch more up there in D.C. that need to have this evaluation. Just from some of the stuff that they say. Just from some of their body language. I think some of them's got some pretty serious issues. So now y'all are so worried about Trump. How about looking at a few of your own? Now, I'll bet you y'all can name the ones I'm thinking of. I also think that any major successful individual, whether it's in politics or business, they are an eccentric of some kind. They are obsessive in some way or another. You don't get focused and make some of the stuff that Trump has made happen. And, oh damn it, what's his name? He just got into Jimmy Buffett. He's like the singer, the parrot head. He's like, his name's like his. Do you think he's not eccentric in some way or another? To take all the businesses that he has taken and he has turned them around and made them profitable? Do you think he ain't obsessive and eccentric? Do you think any politician that takes their office, hopefully serious for the good, although some take it serious for the bad, and they start working for some of their causes or whatever you want to call it, you think that isn't obsessive? I think there's a disorder for that kind of stuff. So we all have it. In one way or another, we all have something. We've all had a life. So if you've had a life, that means that you've been hurt in your past. So we all suffer from depression in one way or another. Some of us more than others. Some of us not so much as others. But you're going to tell me that once in a while you don't get feeling the blues? You don't get the pity party going? Come on, be honest. Now, don't have to be all the time. Don't have to be every week. Don't have to be every month. But tell me that you're always going around all happy and you never have that little pity party. Because if you're going to tell me that, I'm going to tell you got some other kind of disease. Because you're not living in the real world. I mean, think about it. So the way that the psychiatrists have done it, they're like politicians. Politicians like passing laws because most politicians aren't lawyers. So they like passing laws so that they have job security. Well, it's the same thing with psychiatrists. They like coming up with these disorders so that they can have business. They got job security. Oh, you're suffering from this, that, or something else. No, right now I'm suffering from a case of dumbass eating up the country. Oh, shit. I said a bad word. I wasn't politically correct. Grab a gear, driver. That's something else that drives me nuts. These drivers don't know how to drive. Revving that truck up, creeping along 2 miles an hour. That's like right now the Democrats are threatening to shut down the country. Well, you know me, I got a couple things to say about that too. Number one, they don't really shut down the government. What they do is they send home the non-essential people. Well, first off, that makes you question, why do we have so many non-essential people? If they're non-essential, let's trim the fat. Get rid of some of these non-essentials, and you might help our budget. Number two is when they come back to work, they get paid for that time off. They don't really lose any money. It's a delay in their paychecks. Why in the world would the Democrat Party want to shut down our country? There goes that old man revving it up. I'm letting him go. Why would the Democrats want to shut down our country over a bunch of illegals? When was the last time you seen the Democrat Party take this hardcore of a stand for Americans? What's wrong with this picture? I hate this shirt. I got about 3 or 4 of them. I just don't like how the collar lays. When the Democrat Party is so hardcore to get illegals and to make a stand for illegals, something's wrong. It just ain't right. And I think, unfortunately, I'm sure I don't have too many Democrats on my channel. I don't know why. I think the Democrat Party out here, the almost regular people, I think they ought to take a hard look at what the Democratic Party's doing. They're shutting the country down for illegals, but they won't take a stand for any Americans. What's wrong with this picture? I was talking to a young man yesterday. He's in college, and he's an older college student. Actually, he's my son. And believe it or not, he's got a bit of daddy in him. And he ain't too bashful. He ain't afraid to talk. He got talking to one of his professors, and he was like, why are all the colleges so liberal? And he says, it ain't just ours, it's pretty much all of them. And the old boy told him, he said, well, it's pretty simple. He says, you have the doers and the don't doers. He says, and those that can't or won't do, teach. He says, thus far, the ones that don't want to do or can't do, they become professors. And in one form or another, they're living off the government. Whether it's by the welfare system or by being a state baby. State baby meaning they work for the state. They don't want to work for a living, so they become a professor. And then they're going to sit there and try to tell you and I how we should do our job. Now are you understanding what's wrong with not only the trucking industry, but a lot of the industries? He went on in his conversation with me. He has a student in one of his classes. He's a lot younger than my boy. He's from Wisconsin or somewhere up there. And he's like the 5th generation cattleman. They raise a lot of beef. He said one of his pet peeves is that all these bleeding heart do-gooders, they don't want to do nothing, which he readily admitted. They need to come up there and work on a ranch for a little bit. They think they got all this figured out. They need to just come work on a ranch. Find out how hard our living really is. He says they're all into this feed the poor, bring the cost down for the poor, ship all kinds of free beef and stuff overseas. He says they need to just come see what it takes to do what we do, which we all know they're not going to do. Don't mind me, I didn't set that pretty yard.
Proceed to the highlighted route.
He said it takes an average of approximately 5 years to get beef ready for the market where you can make any money. He says on top of that, he says we have them stealing our property, our ranches, if you're close to town at all, and they're putting in all these apartment complexes and they're doing all this building, and the cities are growing, and they're just eating up the ranch land and the farmland. And he says then we start doing these feedlots, and they tried telling us how bad those are, how bad they stink, and how bad they are on the critters, and blah, blah, blah. Well, folks, you can't have it all. What's the old saying Grandma always told you? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Well, that's what they want. And they don't have a clue. They have not educated themselves about what the farmer or the rancher is going through, what they have to deal with. They ain't got a clue worse yet. They don't care. But yet they're going to sit up there on their high horse and criticize and then tell these people how to do it. And then they're going to holler. You remember back in the 70s, I think it was, when they was subsidizing so many farmers. They was trying to get these farmers to really grow. And the government was doing great things to get them to buy a whole bunch of this new equipment. My grandpa was still alive then, and he was a farmer. He had like 100 acres. And now where you going there, buddy? I've been watching you for a little while, and I ain't been impressed, and now he's going back in beside me. My grandpa did not fall for it. He had 100 acres, and he had 2 or 3 old tractors, and he had enough sons that lived in the city but grew up farming, that during the most important parts of the season, somebody was always out there helping Grandpa for free, just helping Dad. It was my grandpa, it was their dad. But Grandpa never bought all that new fancy equipment. It wasn't too many years after all of that that the farming community started taking a hard fall. They couldn't cover the cost of the stuff that the government had got them to buy. Imagine that. So farmers started going under left and right. I hope he turns that truck off. Nobody heard about that. Well, yeah, plenty of us heard about it, but the ones that was making all these dumb laws and stuff, they didn't really have a clue. And to them, it had to be the farmer's fault. Well, why did he need all that fancy equipment anyway? Don't get me started. Anytime that you can improve and you're in business and you're offered something that supposedly is going to help and not hurt, you'd be a fool not to, in my opinion. However, some of these old dumbass farmers, like Grandpa, that didn't trust the government, he saw through it enough where he didn't go there. So he farmed his 100 acres until the last few years of his life when he just couldn't do it anymore. He loved it, and that's why he kept doing it. He was a sharecropper, a legitimate sharecropper. And the old boy that he was sharecropping for, he had put it in his will that whoever got his property, it was to stay with my grandpa as long as my grandpa wanted to farm it. And I thought that was pretty awesome. Nobody knew that until the old man died. And then the kids all started grabbing up the old man's stuff, and when they got to Grandpa's 100 acres, they had to put the brakes on. I thought that was pretty cool. But there's a lot of this nonsense that just drives the old man crazy. If you want Trump evaluated, which he volunteered for, I think there's a whole bunch more of you that need to do it. Has he got something wrong with him? Why, hell yes. We all do. And obviously he does to be the success that he is. Is he politically correct? No. Is he a diamond? No. That's why he got elected. Because he is rough around the edges. Because he is outspoken. Because he doesn't sugarcoat. That's why he got elected. Is he doing stuff that just drives people crazy? Well, of course. He's strong. Did you notice what a hero he was when he was a Democrat? All of the talk shows and news channels cared what he had to say. When he started running for president and announcing it, seemed like you seen him on every show, every day, every minute. Got so fed up with him. Got so tired of seeing him. But they wanted him because it helped their ratings. And they thought he would fail. He didn't fail. Once they figured out he was serious and that he actually stood a chance, then all of a sudden he became the enemy. Now they didn't want him on the show. They showed stuff and tried to tear him up. They tried to badmouth him, make him look bad, put him in a bad light. But what they didn't understand is the only ones that thought he was messing up are the ones that weren't going to vote for him anyway. So he got a lot of free press. I think he's doing pretty damn good. I think he's doing pretty damn good. I don't think we'll ever be best friends. One thing, I don't think he even knows who I am. I know who he is, but I don't think he knows who I am. And he probably don't want to. Somebody send one of my videos to him. Let him get to know me. Well, that's about it for my rant today. I'm sitting there getting the wagon unloaded. 11:30 in the morning. They ain't even started yet. One of these where they told me I had a 12 o'clock appointment, but go on in early. They'll unload you early. Well, they put me in the dock right away because they don't have any parking. but they got a lot of docks. Well, I'm sitting there waiting on the red light. Eventually, I'll get out of here. I'll go to the yard. They got a load taking me home. I have calmed down a lot. I was a wee bit angry over the Denver load. And they don't even understand why. They think I was going to Denver. No. Been to Denver 1,000 times. It don't bother me. It was the way I was sent. No respect. That's what bothered me. So I'm debating on having a little chat with the general manager. It'll depend upon what frame of mind I'm in when I get to the yard. That's something I don't want to do in anger. I know me too well. We'll see. With that, I bid you good day. You might see me later today, who knows. Remember, God loves you, so do I. The Democrats, they think you're crazy. Well, at least deplorables. Y'all have a wonderful day now. Bye.